It all started in the shadows. Covert assassinations, cyber attacks, anonymous bombings, whispers of a war that never officially began. For decades, Israel and Iran danced dangerously close to the edge of open conflict, pulling strings in secret, using proxies to fight silent battles. But in 2025, something changed. The mask was dropped, and the world watched as a decades-long Cold War turned hot. This is the untold truth of how the Israel-Iran proxy war erupted into full-scale warfare, and what it means for all of us. To understand how we got here, we must rewind to 1979. That was the year of the Iranian Revolution, when Iran's monarchy collapsed and was replaced with an Islamic republic, sharply anti-Western and openly hostile toward Israel. Overnight, two nations that had once shared quiet relations became bitter enemies. Over the years, Israel accused Iran of sponsoring terrorist groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza, proxies that would allow Iran to attack Israel without putting its own name on the assault. In return, Israel launched surgical strikes on weapons shipments, nuclear facilities, and high-value Iranian targets in Syria and beyond. The battlefield was everywhere and nowhere. Iran's nuclear program became the heart of this secret war. Israel feared that if Tehran developed a nuclear bomb, it would be used to wipe Israel off the map. In response, Israeli intelligence agencies, especially the feared Mossad, launched daring operations, blowing up centrifuges, hacking uranium facilities, even assassinating top Iranian scientists in broad daylight. These attacks were precise, deadly, and officially denied. But Iran knew, and it waited. Throughout the 2010s and early 2020s, the war remained mostly in the shadows, but tension kept building. In April 2024, an Israeli airstrike in Damascus killed a high-ranking Iranian Quds Force commander. Tehran promised revenge. Months later, the cyber attack on Israel's water systems, traced back to Iranian hackers, crippled several cities for hours. Behind every event, a bigger threat loomed. Both sides were upgrading. Iran tested new long-range missiles like the Qasem Basir, and Israel continued to develop its Iron Dome and Arrow defense systems. It was an arms race disguised as diplomacy. Then, in May 2025, the silence finally shattered. An Iranian military base in Isfahan was struck by what appeared to be an Israeli drone swarm, highly sophisticated, precise, and impossible to deny. Iran responded within hours, launching ballistic missiles toward key Israeli military installations. It was the first time since the 2006 Lebanon War that Israel's air defense faced such an intense barrage. The world took notice. This was no longer a hidden conflict. This was war. What followed was chaos. Iran's missiles struck near Beersheva, targeting a hospital, Soroka Medical Center. Miraculously, patients had been evacuated just moments before. Israeli warplanes retaliated by targeting Iranian Revolutionary Guard bases across Syria and Iraq. Hezbollah and Hamas activated sleeper cells, and Israeli civilians were told to take shelter. Within 48 hours, both countries had entered a full military escalation, one that drew in US diplomatic pressure, European concern, and regional panic. Amid the fighting, stories of human courage emerged. Israeli doctors refused to leave their hospital posts, continuing surgeries as alarms blared. Iranian civilians, caught between state propaganda and real fear, took to social media to beg for peace. Journalists risked their lives to report from war zones, showing the cost not in maps or missiles, but in human faces. It became clear that beneath the political hatred, both nations were made up of ordinary people just trying to survive. By June 24, global pressure forced a shaky ceasefire. Brokered unofficially through back channels involving the US, Russia, and Gulf states, both sides agreed to halt attacks, publicly at least. But the scars remain. Thousands displaced, lives lost, trust destroyed. The proxy war might be paused, but the fuel that feeds it, religious rivalry, national pride, and strategic fear, still burns. The region has changed forever. This story isn't just about nations or bombs, it's about how silence can be louder than war, and how hate left unresolved becomes unstoppable. It reminds us that peace must be stronger than fear, and that every hidden grudge, if left unchecked, will eventually find a way to explode. Whether between countries, people, or even within ourselves, conflict doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers for years before it finally roars. If this story moved you, if it taught you something new, don't let it stop here. Share it, talk about it, and more importantly, learn from it. Because understanding the past is the first step toward building a better future. This was FactFusionFervo, bringing you the truth behind the headlines and the stories that matter most. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay curious. The world is full of hidden wars. Let's uncover them, one story at a time.